Everyone wants to be great, but nobody wants to be bored. We all crave the results of greatness, the recognition, the respect, the freedom, but when it comes to the quiet, uneventful, repetitive effort it takes to build something real, most people quit. We've been raised to believe that success should feel exciting, that every day should feel like a movie montage, upbeat, inspiring, dramatic. But real progress doesn't look like that. It's slow, it's repetitive, it's invisible. The truth is, boring work is where everything that matters begins. It's where discipline is born, skill is refined, and real confidence is earned. The boring days, the ones no one posts about, those are the foundation of everything worth having. But we've been conditioned to fear stillness. We scroll, we chase, we multitask, and because boredom feels like failure, we've been taught that if something isn't stimulating, it's not worth doing. That if progress isn't visible, it's not real. And that's the trap, because the people who learn to embrace boredom, to sit quietly in repetition and keep showing up, they're the ones who eventually rise above everyone else, not because they're more talented, but because they didn't need constant excitement to keep going. In the silence of routine, they built strength. In the monotony of practice, they built mastery. And while everyone else chased motivation, they built momentum. We live in a culture obsessed with instant gratification. Everything is fast, fast food, fast success, fast dopamine. But the faster everything becomes, the more we lose our ability to endure, to work without constant validation, to believe in progress we can't yet see. The truth is, boring work is uncomfortable because it confronts our impatience. It forces us to face how much we depend on stimulation to feel alive. It shows us how fragile our attention really is. But if you can stay there, if you can hold steady, through that discomfort, something powerful happens. You stop chasing the high of progress and start finding peace in the process itself. It's not exciting, it's not glamorous, but it's real, and that's what makes it rare. Most people underestimate how powerful repetition really is. They confuse movement with progress, speed with success. They think the one who works the loudest wins, the one who posts the most, speaks the most, looks the busiest. But the truth is, real growth doesn't happen in noise. It happens in silence. When you repeat the same thing 1,000 times, whether it's writing, training, learning, or building, something subtle starts to change. Your mind shifts from needing results to needing rhythm. The act itself becomes the reward, and that's when you become unstoppable. Because consistency, at its core, is rebellion. It's saying no to distractions, no to quick results, no to the craving for constant novelty. It's choosing to keep walking even when there's no applause, no recognition, no visible progress. Most people never reach that point. They quit when the work stops feeling exciting. They assume boredom means something's wrong, when in reality, boredom means you're finally doing something right. See, boredom isn't a sign of failure. It's the beginning of mastery. It's what separates those who only dream from those who quietly build. Every great writer, artist, athlete, and thinker has faced the same dull repetition, the same endless practice that most people would avoid. And yet, that's exactly where they found their edge. The quiet, repetitive work doesn't just build skill, it builds identity. It teaches you patience, self-control, and focus, the qualities that can't be faked, posted, or borrowed. You learn to trust the process, even when there's no visible proof that it's working. You stop asking, when will I make it? And start thinking, how can I make this better? That shift, from craving results to loving refinement, is what separates the temporary achievers from the timeless ones. And the irony is, the moment you stop chasing excitement, you start becoming extraordinary. Because extraordinary people aren't born from moments of inspiration. They're made in moments of boredom, when no one's watching, when no one cares, when it would be easier to stop. That's where strength is built. Not in chaos, but in calm. Not in hype, but in habit. Not in motivation, but in quiet repetition. We've been trained to crave stimulation. Every scroll, every swipe, every notification. They've rewired our brains to need constant novelty. We can't sit still for 5 minutes without reaching for a screen. without chasing the next hit of dopamine. It's not just habit, it's conditioning. We've been programmed to mistake stimulation for satisfaction and movement for meaning. But the truth is, this constant craving for new has made us shallow. We skim instead of study. We start instead of sustain. We live in a loop of beginnings, never staying long enough to see what happens when something grows slowly. That's why boring work feels painful, because it forces you to face the withdrawal. It strips away distraction and exposes what's underneath. Your restlessness, your impatience, your fear of being ordinary. But the irony is, that's exactly where your power lives. Not in escaping boredom, but in sitting with it. Because boredom is the doorway to focus. When you stop chasing constant stimulation, your attention deepens, your thoughts become clearer, your emotions settle. You start to see details others miss. That's what mastery really is. Deep attention, built over time. It's not a secret trick or hidden formula. It's simply learning to stay. Every time you choose to keep going through the dullness, you strengthen a part of yourself that the modern world is trying to erase. Your ability to endure. To hold one thought long enough to make it real. And that's rare now. In a world that rewards speed, patience is rebellion. In a world that glorifies multitasking, focus is strength. In a world that tells you to move fast and break things, slowness is power. The truth is, boring work isn't really boring. It's quiet, and we've forgotten how to handle quiet. Because quiet means confronting yourself. It means hearing your doubts, your insecurities, your truth, and that's why so many people run. Not from the work, but from the silence that comes with it. But if you stay, if you breathe through it, if you let the repetition become your teacher, you'll discover something everyone else is missing. You'll find peace in the process, a calm confidence that doesn't depend on outcomes, strength that doesn't scream for attention because it doesn't need to. That's the quiet strength of boring work. It's not flashy, it doesn't impress. It builds something far deeper. Resilience, patience, and trust. The quiet strength of boring work doesn't announce itself, it doesn't make noise, it doesn't demand applause. It just builds, quietly, invisibly, patiently, day after day. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You show up, repeat the same motions, follow the same routine. You write another page that no one reads. You lift another weight that feels just as heavy. You study another concept that still doesn't click. And the mind whispers, why bother? Because we've been taught that effort without visible reward is failure. That if progress isn't loud, it doesn't count. But what if that whisper is wrong? What if that dull, invisible work is the foundation of everything lasting? See, every repetition you do without reward, that's a vote for discipline. Every day you show up without motivation, that's a vote for character. Every small task you complete without recognition, that's a vote for mastery. That's how true strength is built. Not in moments of excitement, but in long stretches of silence. Not when you feel inspired, but when you don't and still do the work anyway, because one day, something subtle shifts. You realize the task that once bored you now feels peaceful. The repetition that once annoyed you now grounds you. And the silence that once scared you now feels like home. That's the transformation no one talks about. You don't just become better at the work, you become different inside. You stop chasing constant validation. You stop comparing. You stop rushing. You start trusting the process. You start respecting time. You start understanding that mastery isn't built on speed. It's built on patience, and patience is power. It's the rarest kind of power because it doesn't depend on luck, timing, or talent. It depends on endurance, and endurance is something you can build. Most people never get there. They quit before the calm arrives. They run the moment it gets dull, not realizing that boredom is the final test before progress. But if you stay, if you keep moving when everything inside you wants to stop, if you embrace the stillness instead of fighting it, something remarkable happens. You stop needing motivation. You stop needing inspiration. You stop needing external fuel. Because now, the work itself sustains you. It becomes your rhythm, your refuge, your reminder that you are capable of building something real. One quiet day at a time, and that's What nobody tells you about boring work, it's not a punishment, it's a teacher. It's the invisible fire that burns away your weakness, your impatience, your need for shortcuts. It's the quiet ritual that makes you strong in a world that's constantly distracted. When you finally look back, years later you'll see it. Not a single day that changed everything, but thousands of small silent ones that slowly shaped you. The boring work was never boring. It was building you, while everyone else was still waiting to feel ready. One day, you'll look back at your life, not at the highlight reel, not at the moments people liked or clapped for, but at the quiet days no one saw. The mornings you woke up and didn't want to, the nights you worked when you were tired, the times you showed up when no one cared, the days you felt unseen, unheard, and unmotivated, but you still did the work anyway. Those days won't sparkle, they won't trend, they won't look good on social media, but they'll be yours because that's where you built your strength. That's where you learned how to stand on your own. That's where you stopped chasing quick wins and started trusting slow growth. You won't remember every quote or every motivational speech, but you'll remember what it felt like to earn your own respect. That's the quiet reward of boring work, not fame, not praise, just peace. That comes from knowing you didn't give up when it was easy to, that you kept walking when others stopped to complain, that you didn't just talk about discipline, you lived it, and maybe that's what strength really is. Not loud, not dramatic, not glamorous, but quiet, patient, enduring. It's the sound of a single step, repeated 1,000 times. It's the calm of knowing you've done your part today, and no matter how small it looks. It's the courage to keep going, even when progress hides in silence. So when life feels slow, when everything in you wants to quit, remember this: the world rewards noise, but life rewards consistency. The world celebrates the sprint, but mastery, real mastery, is a long, steady walk through the unremarkable. The quiet work you do when no one's watching, that's your strength, that's your foundation, that's your freedom. And one day, when you stand where you always dreamed of being, you'll realize something powerful. It wasn't the goal that changed you. It was the work, the boring, repetitive, unseen work that taught you everything you needed to know.